Welcome to Monster Motel. Thanksgiving at the old farm always felt like stepping back in time. The air would smell of wood smoke and damp earth, clinging even inside the heavy stone walls. We'd gather in the dining room, the massive oak table groaning under the weight of food, just as generations of our family had done before us. It was a comfort, mostly, until the stories started. Every year, after the last bite of pie, Grandpa Joe, a thin, old man with hands like knotty branches, would clear his throat with a dry rasp. His eyes, usually kind, would get a far-off, unsettling look. He'd tell us the tale of the wood wights, spirits that lived deep in the ancient, twisted forest hugging our property. And this is where my blood ran cold, even as a child. He'd say they were lonely things, hungry for warmth and light, always drawn to what they didn't have. And sometimes they'd come looking. This year felt different from the start. A cold dread, like a spider web brushing your skin, settled over the house. Early that afternoon, helping Dad, a sturdy man, bring in firewood, we heard a strange sound from the woods. A high-pitched, warbling cry no bird I knew made. The hairs on my arms stood up. Then, as the sun dipped, an unnatural silence fell over the farmyard. The chickens were quiet. Our old dog, Barnaby, whimpered by the back door, refusing to go outside, his ears flattened, staring at the darkened tree line. I still get a shiver thinking about it, that sudden, total quiet. Grandpa Joe, an elderly man with a gaunt face, didn't start the story with his usual booming voice this year. Instead, his words were a whisper, full of an urgency I hadn't heard. He spoke of how the whites hated iron, how they could slip through cracks, how they mimicked human sounds, children's cries, a familiar voice, to lure you in, to drop your guard. The wind outside rattled the old window panes like dry bones. A branch scraped hard against the glass behind Aunt Carol, a woman in her 40s, making her jump. Everyone laughed, a nervous, forced laugh. Grandpa Joe just paused, his gaze fixed on the window, his grim, knowing stare replacing his smile. Later, during dinner, my little cousin, Tom, a boy of about 7 with sandy hair, started to cry, his small hands covering his face. He said he saw a pale, thin face in the kitchen window, looking in. We said it was a reflection or a deer. My Uncle David, a big, boisterous man, went out with a flashlight, swinging it wildly into the inky blackness. He found nothing, or so he said, rubbing his arms against the sudden, sharp cold he'd met outside. I knew what he meant, even then, that the cold wasn't just the night air. It was a different kind of cold altogether. Tom kept looking at the window, dinner forgotten, his eyes wide and unfocused. He wouldn't eat. Just as Grandma Millie, a stern woman with coiled silver hair, was about to scold him, the lights flickered. The house went dark, plunging us into suffocating blackness, then came back on with a jarring pop. A quick blink, but it tensed everyone. Grandma Millie fussed, just old wiring, but her knuckles were white on the table. It felt like something more. The air grew heavy, thick with fear. A chill seeped into our bones despite the roaring fire. My older brother, Mark, a tall man usually full of jokes, was quiet, picking at his food. He kept glancing nervously at the woods through the bay window, his brow furrowed. I caught his eye. He just shook his head, a small, scared gesture. A new sound. A silence descended, absolute and profound. Then we heard it. It was a soft, dragging scrape, like something heavy pulled across the rough planks of the porch, just outside the front door. We all froze, forks half raised, breaths held tight. No one moved, no one dared. Uncle David, always the pragmatist, shifted, a flicker of resolve in his eyes. He started to rise, looking toward the door, his usual bluster replaced by grim determination. But Mom, a strong woman, quick and intuitive, caught his eye. She gave a small, imperceptible shake of her head, her face pale, a silent plea. David sank back, a deep sigh escaping him, his bravado utterly deflated. The dragging sound stopped, leaving a ringing silence, heavier than before. Dad, a sturdy man whose kind eyes now held deep worry, cleared his throat, trying to change the subject. But the easy warmth of dinner was gone, replaced by a tight, watchful silence, each of us listening, waiting. We were finishing dessert, pie growing cold. A new, sharper silence fell. Then it happened. A small, high-pitched scratching started at the very base of the front door. It sounded like fingernails, tiny ones, relentlessly trying to dig their way in, seeking purchase, testing the wood. My younger cousin, Lucy, a girl with bright red hair, gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Before anyone could speak, before anyone could process the sound, a voice, clear and sweet, like a child's, called from just beyond the door. "Hello? Can I come in?" It was too perfect, too clear, too real to be anything but a child, yet utterly wrong. Grandma Millie dropped her fork with a loud clatter. Grandpa Joe stood up, slowly, deliberately, carefully, his eyes wide, vacant, staring fixedly at the door. He took one slow, heavy step, then another, his hand reaching out, fingers twitching, as if he were going to open it, to welcome the voice in. My mom, a strong woman who rarely showed fear, was faster. She surged forward, grabbed Grandpa Joe's arm, pulling him back sharply, her grip like iron. "No, Pa," she hissed, a low, furious whisper, her eyes wide with protective fury. The child's voice called again, a little louder, pleading, a hint of a sniffle. No one else moved. We sat frozen, a tableau of terror, listening to the soft, rhythmic scratching continue. The child's voice calling, a relentless, heartbreaking appeal that was anything but. My dad, quiet until now, found his voice, a deep rumble cutting through the fear. Everyone to the back room, now. He didn't look at the front door, didn't spare a glance, just herded us away, away from the sound, away from the voice. We spent the rest of the night huddled in the back parlor, the smallest room, farthest from the front. No one spoke of what we'd heard, not a single word. We just listened to the persistent howl of the wind, to the occasional faint whisper of that child's voice, always asking, always waiting. We left first thing in the morning, before dawn truly broke, scrambling into cars, driving away as quickly as possible, leaving the old house and whatever was outside behind us. It's been years now, and I haven't been back to the farm for Thanksgiving. I don't think I ever will. I couldn't. The woods still stand, dark and silent, a wall of ancient trees. And every time the wind howls just right outside my own window, I hear it again. That small, sweet voice, always asking, always waiting. It's out there. I know it.